State Senator Ryan Gatti. Hey, Mr. Ryan, how are you this morning?
Man, doing great this morning. How are y'all?
Well, let's see. We started off with Cedric Glover, state representative. He's a no on the gas tax. Then we got to Alan Seabaugh, state representative Alan Seabaugh. He's a no on the gas tax. But Mr. Allen seems to think it's got at least an outside chance. Gas tax. Right now, there's a bunch of business leaders across the state who have sort of bonded together to back this 17-cent a gallon gas tax increase. What do you think? Where does it stand as you see it? And if the vote were today, which way would you go?
I would vote no immediately. And let me tell you why. This is not how we should fund our roads. This is just not how we should do it. I mean, and Robert, you said something today, and you were thinking like a chess player, and a lot of people just think in the form of checkers. And this is a chess move by the other side, and you picked up on it. And you said, I remember the other day when you had the chamber guy on, and he said, I'm for this tax. And you paused just for a second. You thought, wait a minute, this guy's supposed to be against taxes. Well, let me tell you what. Let me tell you what we start with. Everybody knows our roads and bridges are horrible, okay? And here's how we tax. We give bailouts at the top and handouts to the bottom, and everybody in the middle class pays for everything. The gas tax is directed at the middle class. They will pay 90% of this revenue stream out of their pocket. I mean, Erin said she would pay $1,000 a year, maybe $2,000 a year. I mean, every family is just like our family. I get very worried as a state senator when businesses and business lobbyists tell me this tax is okay to vote for. They did it with Stelly. They did it with gaming coming in, which is a tax on the middle class. They did it with a lottery coming in. And what they've done over the last 30 years is said, don't tax us at the top. Give us a bailout. Tax the middle class. You picked up on that, Robert, and I applaud you for that, because most people do not understand that when the chamber gets on the radio and says, I'm for taxing 17 cents per gallon, what they're really saying is, we're not going to pay that. We're okay with fixing roads and bridges, but we don't want to be part of the group that pays.
So how do we fix our roads? How do we pay for it, Ryan?
Well, it's very simple. Texas does it through a small fraction of a sales tax, okay? Because that's fair. Everybody pays it from the top to the bottom. That is why I drafted House Bill 220 that Representative McGee filed, because it lowers the state sales tax from 5 to 2. Strips off all the exemptions except for the 6 or 7 that we all agree on would be double taxation. And that is a proper way to fund this situation.
Well, you're cutting the tax. How are you going to get more money by cutting it?
Hold on now. We're not trying to give the government more money. All right, I've been misquoted on that. When you cut a tax, it gives the government less money. And if we cut the sales tax from 5 cents to 2 cents, that is a reduction of about $1.6 to $2.1 billion. That is exactly the growth of government that we all disagree with. So we have complete control over shrinking the size of government. Now, too many times what has happened over the last 9 years...
But you still haven't paid to fix a road yet.
Well, here's what we do. We would take a portion of that 2 cents and do like Texas, say, this is dedicated to roads. Now, that 0.25 or 0.5 of sales tax would raise just as much or maybe even more than the 17 cents on gasoline. But here's the thing. Everyone would pay the sales tax from the very bottom of the socioeconomic chain all the way to the tip top. That's my condition. A flat tax that everybody pays.
Excuse me, Ryan. Speaking of, and you mentioned taxing people twice, that's the complaint, that's the beef that a lot of business owners have with, what's the limit, the $1.5 million, was it gross revenue tax?
Yeah, or the cat tax, yeah.
Alan said, Seabaugh said that's done. That's got no shot. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's a horrible idea. I mean, I called my accountant who does taxes for about, his firm probably does taxes for the majority of businesses in Shreveport, and he's my barometer. And I asked him about this. He says, man, I don't see how this helps anyone at all, because even if the fractional rate on your gross income was lower, you still have to file under the old way and pay the old amount. So, I mean, they're going to get you coming or going. So, I mean, I don't like it. It doesn't simplify the tax code. It doesn't help us. And we don't need to be taxing people during a recession. We need to be lowering tax rates.
So if there's a nickel tax on the agenda to vote on today, let's go one nickel. How does Ryan Gatti vote?
I would vote no. You can't tax the middle class during a recession. I mean, last year we were in bankruptcy. We had to put fingers in the dam hoping it wouldn't break. It was a horrible year. We were in bankruptcy reorganization for 3 months. It's horrible. I've walked clients through that kind of stuff. It is horrible. And that's what I felt like voting last year. This year we can make real change.
Give me an idea of a real change.
Well, look, if you lower the sales tax from 5 to 2, take off all the exemptions, statutory and otherwise, that everybody gets upset about, then you're back to a point where you can lead because everybody agrees we need to cut the size of government. Everybody agrees we need to cut taxes. Here's the problem, Erin. None of us down here agree on what should be cut. And listen, if you've got a business partner and you can't agree, or you're an investor in a business and your manager cannot tell you where to cut, you cut off the streams of revenue. And when you cut off the streams of revenue, by a significant amount, then the manager, whether he's good or not, is forced into a priority system. What's the most important? What's the least important? Cut the one that's least important. We've never forced that issue. And it's a basic economic issue. We've never forced it. We've always just caved in and raised taxes, or passed gaming, or passed the lottery.
This would be like a bickering couple, and one of them runs to the bank and drains the account, and the other one's now got to deal with it. That's what you're proposing.
It's more like two business partners. One's the investor, one's the sweat equity partner. We've all been in situations like that. We loan money to our niece or nephew to start a lawnmower business. Well, he comes to us and says, I need more money. I need more money. You're like, look, you should be making a profit by now. You should be self-sustaining. No, I need more money. Well, let's look at your budget. And I can't figure out where I want to cut. I don't want to cut anything. He said, look, I'm not going to invest $500 a month anymore in your business. I'm going to invest $250. Well, what happens with that business maneuver is that lawn business begins to prioritize necessities.